showing you is not really the source code necessarily, but what I am showing you is the structure of the project. See the way I have layered the components. Note my words. As I had said earlier, I am very particular about making the right statements. See, they're using the right terms while formulating a statement. I'm saying, see the way I have structured the classes in different layers. So the request processing logic is here. You must understand what is request processing logic. You must understand. If you don't understand, then there is a problem. What is request processing logic? The logic that is related to processing the request. What do you mean by request? What is it that you get in the request? You get in the request the parameters, you get the body of the request, you get the headers of the request, and then you have to apply some business logic on it, which is not the responsibility of this servlet. Take a look. Here, the responsibility is to get the data from the request. In this case, I am not getting any data in the request. Maybe I'm getting, but I'm not using it. I don't need to use it. Maybe the way I wanted to build it, but it's quite possible. Here, how many records am I retrieving from the database? How many customers am I retrieving from the database? I am retrieving all the customers. Note my point very, very carefully and pay very good attention here, my dear friends. It's quite possible that I may have a request in which there is a parameter, and that parameter is of customer ID, and I want to retrieve exactly one single record which matches the customer ID. And we have learned how to do that using prepared statement yesterday with this project, in this simple Java project. You remember this? Okay. See this window, and okay, I'll have to open that. Open recent and Java project. You remember this, right? And here we did create something like this, prepared statement demo by name, or maybe prepared statement demo. And in this case, we got the customer based on the ID of the customer. So suppose it is the same thing here. Suppose. So what do you think? How will I get the value of the customer here? I mean the customer ID that the user wants. Okay, try and understand. It's very simple. My objective is not to teach HTML here at all. Absolutely not. But suppose if this is the case, that here I have got customer servlet question mark. I'll say ID is equal to 102. How do you think I will be able to get this value? I have already explained this to you in last week. I did explain to you that this is how the parameters are received, server side. You remember we had written a program, my HTTP server, and we used to get the data server side. But then we do have a servlet API over here. I don't need to parse that entire HTTP string, text string, and then find out what are the parameters and what is the body of the request and stuff. I can just simply say string, and I say ID. Okay, I say string ID is equal to, now see this very interesting stuff. String ID is equal to, I'll say request.get parameter. Can you see this? Request.get parameter, and what will I give? ID. Correct. And once I get the value of ID, I will have yet another method created in the DAO class, which will help me to get the data based on the ID. That means I will end up retrieving one particular record. I hope you're getting the point, friends. You must understand this entire request processing model, entire request response model. I'm going to build this here on my machine, and trust me, it is not important that you do it on your machine. If it is not working on your machine, that's fine. Though I am going to push this code, you will take the pull and you understand the entire flow, and trust that if you run, it will run as good as it is running on my machine. So the only thing is that you have the code on your machine, but it is running on my machine and not yours. It's just okay. It is okay. I will show you the working of it. The same code that you have on your machine, I'm going to show you the so when you pull, you've got the same source code. It's just that you are not running it on your machine. I'm running it on my machine, and it works like a charm. But you must understand the concept behind it. And I will certainly give you a good amount of time to do the hands-on when it comes to Spring Boot. Right? I hope we are all on the same page. We are all on the same page. Yes, friends, we are all on the same page, right? Getting it, isn't it? Okay, good. So I will remove this from here and see what I'm going to do now. See how I'm going to run, and it is the same application that you're going to build in Spring Boot. When we move on to Spring Boot, you're going to do the same thing in Spring Boot. You got that, friends? Yes, Ashish Kumar. Hey, you're there, Ashish. Very nice. Ashish, you must be asking questions. See, you know what? For me, people who do not talk, and for me, people who do not ask questions and do not respond are not there. Right? Due to network issue, I was unable to join. No problem, Ashish. That's okay. So I'll mark you as present. Don't worry about that. But then you need to keep on interacting. You need to keep on saying yes, no, not sure, and so on. Coming back to the point here. See how I am proceeding further and tell me if you have any doubts on this. Come on. This is getting more and more interesting, my dear friends. All the web-based application and stuff, it's getting all the more interesting now. Okay, we have done this yesterday, isn't it? We have done this, and then this is what we have done yesterday. See, so how many functions do we have as of now? Get customer is one function that we have here. Okay, one function that we have over here on customer DAO, isn't it? This is the function that we have, and we are calling that function from the servlet, and we are forwarding the request to customer.jsp. It returns the list of customer back. We put it with the request. It is the same request that is forwarded here, and from the request object in customer.jsp, we take the value back, and you see this customer listing.jsp. We take the value here from the request object and we build it like this. Come on, isn't it? This is what we have done. Correct? Now we have listing over here. We have listing here, and how many columns do we have? 1, 2, 3. We have 3 columns. Now I'm going to add yet another column over here. I'll say class is equal to, I'll say call, right? And I'll say the column here is, I'll give the action. I'll say I'll say href, I'll say slash customer. See this what I'm doing? See, I'll say customer, I'll just simply say customer servlet question mark. I'll say ID is equal to which ID. I wanted to pass the ID against which the user has clicked. So I will not hard code. If I hard code, then it will be like 101. So always in the customer servlet, whenever I try to take the value, it will always be 101, which does not make sense. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put here equal to here like this, ID c.get ID. So whatever the ID is, getting the point? And what I'm going to do here is in the customer servlet, it is the same doGet method which will be executed. Why? Because all the ahref, whenever you have got ahref from index.jsp, again you have got ahref here. With ahref and with the links that you put in the browser, it's always a get request. It is always a get request unless you invoke some JavaScript function, and through which you invoke an Ajax, or you deliberately make a post request. That it's a different thing. But then otherwise, yes, Kritika, tell me. Yeah, do you have a question, Kritika, sorry. Okay, fine. So you see this, you have customer listing.jsp and yeah, correct. So we were talking about the get. Yeah, so it's all going to be get. We are going to work with post as well. Hello friends, we are going to work with post as well. We will work on that later. Now you have to confirm to me, my dear friends, that so far you have understood the flow of the program, yes or no? So far you have understood the flow of the program or not, and it is the same program that is there on your machine as well. Have you understood the flow of the program? Yes, instead of recapping the difference between get and post now, I'm going to actually write some code which will differentiate between the two. And so in that point of time, it will be crystal clear, don't worry. Okay? All right. So please see this, this is what we are going to do now. So you see, it is the same doGet method which is getting called from index.jsp. When I click on customer servlet here on the primary button, you see it's customer servlet here. You got this on index.jsp. I will remove this. I will remove, this. I'll just put customer servlet here. No parameter passed. You're getting the point? No parameter passed. But so from here, when I go to customer.jsp, customer servlet, in the customer servlet, what are we doing? We are forwarding the request to customer listing.jsp. So when you come to customer listing.jsp, here also it is customer servlet, but this time the parameter is there. I repeat, this time the parameter is there. There is a parameter called c.getID. Am I right? Correct. So how do I differentiate? How do I know whether the user is coming from index.jsp or he has clicked against some? So what I mean to say is, let me run this code. I say localhost and it is 80, 81. Okay. Okay. There you go. And I say primary. You see this when I click on primary. You see this here. I am getting this 101 PwC, Hyderabad, Pune, Mumbai, and so on, isn't it? So now, where am I coming from? Okay, I'll just. Okay, it's not giving me the data actually. Refresh, and then perhaps because I have my database on a different machine, and that machine, dynamically the IP gets changed every day I start. So network, what is the IP address? Yeah, it's the same 29.83, right? And here it is 29.83. Yeah, perfect, same. Yeah, so it's working. No worries, it's working. Correct. But then this is something that I have just written, customer servlet. Yes, and I did not give a href. I did not give the label over here. I will say edit. What is it that I'm going to put here? Edit. Right? I want to edit that record. Okay, and then when I say edit, you see this, I'm going to run this again. I will refresh it. So the point that I am making is this. The point that I am making is this. When I am here, when I click on primary, why should I give the name as primary? Why shouldn't I be going to index.jsp, and instead of primary, why don't I give this as customers? Okay, I say customers. I'll refresh this. This looks good, and in fact I don't want that default button at all. I've commented it. Once again I will refresh it. Okay, you see this customers. Now the moment I click on customers, it goes to the customer servlet. Do I have in the customer servlet, do I have the value of ID? Do I have ID here? No, I do not have ID, isn't it? Okay, if I clear the data off. Okay, so you see this once again, I go here / customer servlet. I'll go to the initial page, I'll say customers, and here you go. Can you see this edit? This is what I've given. Now, friends, please see this. When I come here to this page, there is no ID, but when I click here and go to the same servlet, there is ID. Please check it over here. You're going to check here. You can see my mouse pointer, right? You can see my mouse pointer. Right? You can see the mouse pointer here. Okay. See, when I click over here, you can see, you will be able to see the URL here. Can you see that URL? Can you see that URL? Localhost 81 customer app war explode / customer servlet ID is equal to 101. When I move my mouse pointer to the next one, it is ID is equal to 102. When I move to the third one, it is ID is equal to 103. When I move to the fourth one, it is ID is equal to 104. You're getting this, friends? How is this happening? This is happening because of this simple piece of code. I'm saying customer servlet ID is equal to, dynamically I'm picking up the value of ID. C.getID, the customer.getID, I'm in a loop. Come on, yes or no? I'm in a loop. Very simple stuff. I'm in a loop. Correct? That's how it is. Isn't it? Isn't it? Right? So now this is how we're going to proceed further. We are going to click on it, and when we click on this, It is the same customer sublet that gets executed and the same code will get executed. I'm going to be back here on the same page. See this, I click on edit, I'm back on the same page. I'm clicking on edit, but it is ID is equal to 102. I'm back on the same page. I click on edit, see sublet ID is equal to 103. I'm back on the same page. 104. Why same page? Because there is no differentiation in logic here at all. Alright, there is no difference in the logic here at all. See, it is the same logic that will get executed whether there is a value of ID in the request or not. See, I click here, I click here, I click here, I click here. The same piece of code gets executed, isn't it? Now see the logic that I am writing. I will take the value. I'll say string. I'll say, see, everything that comes in parameter is always a string. I repeat, everything that comes from the parameter is always a string. So I'll say string ID is equal to, take a look, request.get parameter. This is how you get values, get parameter. And what is the value? I'll say ID. That's the parameter, isn't it? ID is equal to 104. You remember right on, in the last week itself, I had shown you PwC website. You remember this pwc.com? You remember? We went to jobs and then we selected some options, see careers, and then we selected options here. You all did agree that, okay, experience, careers, jobs, okay. You remember this? Correct. And then you remember we selected some option out here, you see, advisory, or maybe I select from, anything here. And then, I clicked on grade, and then I say, I select some options here and I say search. You see this? You remember these parameters here? Based on the value of the parameters, it retrieved the available, jobs. You see this, WD job site is equal to so and so, WD service is equal to so and so, industry is equal to so and so, so and so, so and so. They are separating the industries by bar. You can see that because I have selected many. I hope you're getting the concept of parameters. So here also see you've got question mark and the list of parameters. Here the question mark, and we have got only one parameter, that is ID is equal to 104. Any doubts in this? Any doubts in this, friends? You are clear? And this get parameter will always return a string. I repeat, it will always return a string. Correct? It will always return a string. You got that? But we have now, so what we're going to do now is, I'll check whether the value of ID is equal to null or not. If ID is equal to null, if it is equal to null, or I will check, or if ID dot, I'll say length is equal to 0. That means there is no value of ID at all, equal to 0. I will first check for the null, because if at all it is null, then in that case ID dot length will throw a null pointer exception. And when I say or, so if this condition is true, it will not care to evaluate this condition and it will go in the if clause. You getting the point, friends? Right? So if it is equal to null, then in that case, you see, I'll say boolean, and I'll say action is equal to, I'll say edit action is equal to, or I'll write edit mode is equal to true. I'll say false rather, okay, or else I'll say true, no problem, whatever the case is. But if it is equal to null, then I'll say edit mode is equal to false. Correct. Edit mode is equal to false, because if there is no ID, that means I'm coming from index.jsp and there is no value of ID. In that case, I'm supposed to retrieve everything. You got that? I'm supposed to retrieve everything. Otherwise, if this is not true, then in that case edit mode will anyways remain true. And I will do this if I'll write edit mode is equally, if I just say if it is edit, if not edit mode, if it is not the edit mode, then I will execute this logic. Take a look at this. But if it is edit mode, then I would like to go to a different page altogether. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say Control V, and I'll say instead of customer listing, I'll say edit hyphen customer.jsp, and in edit customer.jsp, I will remove everything from here. Okay, I will remove this div as well. And what is it that I'm going to do? I will say div. Okay, and within the div I'll say form, whatever the action is, and I'll say input. Okay, now see, the kind of input that I will be giving and the form that I will be giving here must look beautiful, yes or no, friends? Though we are learning, it's not a real life application, it must be beautiful, yes or no? Come on, it must look good, isn't it? So I will create, for now I'll say input, so that I don't focus on Bootstrap much. I'll say input, I'll say type is equal to text, but I'll say name is equal to ID. Okay, and then again I'll say type is equal to text, name is equal to name, and here it will be equal to address, and then again I'll say type is equal to submit, and the value will be equal to save. So see, it's a simple HTML form that I have created, a simple HTML form with action is equal to nothing for now, but this is my edit customer.jsp, this is a form. And in my customer servlet, what is it that I'm going to do? If the mode is equal to edit, that means I do have the value of ID. I do have the value of ID. Then in that case, it's still incomplete. We are supposed to do quite a few more things. I will say request dispatcher. I'm going to take a request dispatcher, but tell me the request dispatcher will be for which particular JSP. If it is in the edit mode, the dispatcher is supposed to be for which particular JSP? Come on. For which particular JSP? Yes, my dear friends, edit-customer.jsp. Super. Let me run this and see the results. Okay, let me see what happens here. Okay, I will close this. Okay, I go back to my Chrome. I go back here. Okay, I'm here. It's a refresh, correct? Here you go, and I'm going to say customers. Oops, the first time it doesn't really work. Customers. Yeah, okay, correct. So it fails to establish connection in a timely manner, and that's the reason why it gives me an error. Ignore that point. So you see this, when I refresh, I'm getting edit here. Now, what is happening here, my dear friends? What is happening here? What is happening is this: if there is no parameter ID, it goes into the if statement and edit mode is equal to false. And if it is not the edit mode, if it is equal to false, then it goes here and does what it was doing earlier. But if edit mode is equal to true, that means there is some value of ID. It actually is supposed to go to this edit customer.jsp. Let's see that. When I click on edit, yes, it goes to my edit customer.jsp. Can you see that? Right, but I don't want this. I mean, this is not really that bad. I mean, it is bad actually. This is not. I would like to see things. So I go to my edit customer.jsp, and here I'll say, I'll say div. I'll say class is equal to container, and I will beautify this. Of course, I don't remember HTML. Okay, and Bootstrap. I have not. Well, I am an expert in HTML and Bootstrap also, but through Google. Okay, so I know what to get from where. So that's just good enough. Okay. So content layout forms, and then form control. Here you go. Okay, so I'm going to just copy paste this over here. Right? I'm going to copy paste this. So you see, I don't want the text area, but I do want the label. So I'll say label is, if this is the ID, so I'm going to say ID input. Okay, and this is my ID input. Okay, and the label is supposed to be ID, and it is supposed to be form label. Type is equal to text, and then it is a form control, and placeholder is, I'll say enter ID. Right, ID is equal to so and so, and I'll say name also is equal to ID. The name of this is ID. Perfect. Now I'm going to replicate this three times. Here I'll say name input. Right, this will become name input. This will be name. Okay, and I'll say enter name. Right, in the form control, here I will say address input. I'm going to just push this code in few minutes, don't worry. So now you can take a look at it. I'll say enter address. Okay, and then everything else is good. I'll say name is equal to address. Fine, so far so good. I'll remove this, and this is going to be input, but instead of input I'll say button. I'll say class is equal to btn, and I say btn hyphen I'll just simply say btn, that's it. And btn hyphen primary. Okay, this is the primary button here on that form, and type is equal to submit, and just perfect. And I'll say form out here. Why is this element represent the form, pseudo form, Mozilla form? So why do you have a problem here? Form. Oh, okay, that was the reason I have not closed the button tag, but I don't need to close the button tag. This is an empty tag. Perfect. Let me now refresh my, and let's see how it looks like. Okay, I go back here, and you see this. This looks beautiful, isn't it? This looks better. So ID, and then see, enter. This is okay. Button I did not give the label of the button, so I'll say it is supposed to be a button. I'll have to give over here. I'll say save. Okay. The rest is all good. Okay. I'll make it still better. I will say div. I'll say class is equal to row, and I'm going to restrict this, the whole form. You see this, within that I'll say div dot call hyphen 5 columns. I'll just take, because it's a 12 column grid. Don't worry if I don't want to get into discussions of. So I've got a row and I've got a column. Just take it, So I don't want to explain HTML, or else it will take a good amount of time. And here you go. Okay, so I've got save. You can see this. It's a small form. Now there must be from the top. There must be some padding from the top as well. So you see, in case of customer listing, you see this. This is what we have. I will do the same thing here for the containers. So this is now fantastic. Yeah, you see this? Perfect. So this is the form that I have, isn't it? This is the form that I have. So I have a form now. Don't you think what will be the next step? Tell me what must be the next step. If you are with me, I'm sure you must be able to answer this question. I have not changed. I was testing whether you are attentive or not. Okay, name and then address. Okay, it doesn't automatically, so I have to make changes. Come on, friends, what must be the next step? What do you think? What do you think must happen? What do you think must happen? Tell me. Oh, that's bad. What has gone wrong here? Label, yeah. Yeah, it has to be stored in the DB. You're right, Ashish. Good, very nice. It is supposed to be stored in the DB. What is supposed to be? I'm in the edit mode, my dear friends. I'm in the edit mode. Don't you think, first of all, when I click here on Mumbai, this 103, it must populate the customer data of 103. If I click on 102, it must populate the data of customer 102. And then if I, click here, it must populate the data. It must give me the ID, name and address of 102. And then when I make changes to it and I click on save, it must update it to the database. Come on. No. There are two steps, my dear friends. First of all, I need to retrieve exactly that customer on which I have clicked. Isn't it? I must first retrieve that customer exactly on which I have clicked and populate this form. And after I make changes in this form and I click on save, then it must get updated to the database. All with me? Yes. That's nice. Retrieve and then update. Yes, Likita. Retrieve and then update. Very correct. Retrieve and then update. But I have not yet retrieved. But what I want to do is that instead of hasting, my dear friends, what I want to do is I would want to push this code. You please take the pull and just take a look at it. It's okay. Don't run it on your machine. If it doesn't run, absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. But take a look at the code that I have written, see the flow, and I'm going to draw that flow on draw.io also. So what is it that I'm going to do here? I'll say I started with edit customer. Okay, edit customer. Commit and push. Okay, I have pushed the code, friends. Come on, you take the pull. Come on, friends, you take the pull and make sure that the pull is there. Or if you are having any issues in getting the pull, you can always pull it into, you can always say file, and you can say new, and you can say project from version control. Just make sure that you give a different folder, and it will, sir, I haven't changed anything in your code, but it still says untracked files prevents merge. So when you say untracked files prevent merge, you can okay, pull it in a different folder, say file, okay, new, say version control. Just make sure that the name of the folder is different. That's it. And then take the pull, and you give the same URL, and you will find that URL in the drop down. You see, you will find that URL in the drop down, and then just select that. Okay, try doing that, Aniket, and take a look at the code that we have written, especially in the customer servlet. See the code that we have written. Take a look at customer.jsp as well. Okay, please do this. Okay, so the next thing is this. Come on, let's start the next stuff here. So what is it that we are supposed to do here? We are supposed to, like the way we have picked up all the customers and we have put it into the request, don't you think we will pick up that specific customer based on the ID that we have received in the request as parameter? Note my words. We have received ID in parameter, and hence we are here in the else part. If there is no ID, then we are not in the else part, and we end up retrieving everything. But here I will be retrieving only one single customer. Will it be list of customer? No, it will be one single customer. Will there be all the customers? No, customer DAO some function which will give me just one single customer. I hope this is very clear to all of us, right? So how do I do that now? Like the way we have got get customers as one of the methods in the customer DAO class, I will go to customer DAO and I will have another method. Tell me what must be the signature of this method. At least one or two of you all give me the signature of this method and you make my day. Tell me what must be the signature of the method. What is it that it is supposed to return back, and what is it that it is supposed to take as a parameter? Come on, friends. Yes, and what? Super. Very nice, Rakesh. Very good, Manisha. Perfect. ID is the parameter, and what must be the return type? Should it be list of customer or one single customer? Come on, come on, come on. Every one of you, I want your hands on the keyboard. You must be very active. The moment I ask a question, you must shoot the answer. No, Pooja, not the list of the customer. If you retrieve by ID, no, Manisha. Will it be list of customer? If you retrieve by ID, isn't ID the primary key? Isn't ID the primary key? So will it retrieve, will you be able to get, yeah, so it's going to be just one single customer object. It cannot be the list, isn't it? And if it was anyways, even if you say list, then how will you be able to show the list in the form? It's going to be same one single customer, right? Not the list of customers, isn't it? Isn't it, friends? You're getting the point, right? So here the signature will be public. I'll say customer, and here I'll say get customer, not customers. Not plural, single. And here I'll say int ID. It is supposed to be an integer. It is supposed to be an integer. And here once again I'm going to write my database logic. What is the database logic, friends? Again I'm going to take the connection object. Everything is going to be same, but you see what I'm going to do here. See this what I'm going to now. This is no. Hello friends, all with me. I hope you are all there with me. All there with me, friends. All there. Listen to me. Listen to me very nicely. Each and every word that I am trying to that I'm conveying to you. My objective here is not to again and again show how to use JDBC, which I have already explained. My objective here is not to explain to you how to write HTML. No, not at all. My objective here is not to further take you into customer servlet or a servlet class. I have already explained how to get a how to write a servlet class. Trust me, I'm take it very seriously. This will build your career, my dear friends, in an easy way. Not that the others won't be building their career. Not that others will not understand. They will understand after months and months and months. You will understand it in next few days. In fact, starting from today, about the architecture, a typical architecture, I would say, typical architecture of a web-based solution built on Java. What I am teaching y'all is the layered architecture. What I'm teaching y'all is how to design your DAO classes. What I am teaching y'all is you must, by the end of few more hours, you must be crystal clear on what it means by control logic, what it means by business logic, and what it means by data access logic. If these three things, if you don't understand the difference between these three, and if you don't understand the significance of all of this, and if there is one more thing, so the request processing logic, the business logic, and the data access logic. The request processing logic, the business service logic, and the data access logic, yes. If you are not crystal clear on all of these three, in next few hours, it's effort in vain, right? It's a futile effort. It's like everything will go down the drain. All our efforts will go down the drain. So while listening to me and while taking a look at the code, your focus must be to understand where Shakir is writing what code. Okay? Don't worry about it. यहाँ क्या pass किया, execute करिए. Oh my God, arrows. Oh my God, what is this if statement, while statement? Okay, no. You see which function is being put and what kind of logic. Okay, when I say function, I'm writing some of the other logic in that. So what kind of logic, what kind of functions, and what kind of logic in this function is going into which class? And I have a question before I proceed further. Don't you think everything that I want to achieve in this application, all that we have discussed, and the data must come over here, and then the user makes changes to the data, he clicks on save, and it gets updated to the database. All of this I could have written, forget about servlet itself. I'm writing so much of code in servlet as well. I could have written my Java code here itself. Come on, yes or no? Can't I write Java code here, my dear friends? Can't I write my Java code here? I could have written everything in JSP. Who stops me? Java doesn't stop me from doing that. The servlet API doesn't stop me from doing that. Am I right? It doesn't stop me from doing that. But why am I doing this? Why am I, writing view-related code? Repeat. View, V-I-E-W, view-related code. Please repeat. I am writing view-related code. Yes, I am writing view-related code in JSPs. I am writing view-related code in JSPs. I am writing request processing code in my servlet. I will soon come to business logic also. I am writing my data access logic here in DAO classes. See? Why? So that I follow the principle of single responsibility principle. I did mention this yesterday. Single responsibility principle. So each one of these classes, JSP also eventually results into a servlet class. I repeat, JSP also when you run it internally, it compiles, it translates your JSP into a servlet, and then servlet instance is created. In short, these are all classes. These are all, kind of components or artifacts. So all of these are indifferent. So we are following a pattern here called model view controller pattern. Please write this. Each one of you all will write this three, okay, write at least once. Model view controller pattern, please write it. I'm not proceeding further till the time I do not see 22 of you all writing this. Model view controller pattern, very nice, excellent. Model view controller pattern, brilliant. Model view controller pattern. Very good. Model view controller pattern. Yes, it's a model view. Where is the view? Can you name the view? Can you name the view? There are so many things here now. Can you name the view, please? Come on, come on, come on. Please name the view. Which out of all of these things is representing the view? Batao. Correct. GSPs. Correct. Yes, these are my GSPs. This is the view. Very good. GSPs, right, Manisha? These are the views. Correct. Model view controllers. Please name the model. Look at all of these things and see where is the model. Name the model, friends. Come on. Model. Yes, the model class. Rakesh, from now onwards, you will be the last person to answer my questions. Rakesh, please confirm. You have heard me. Okay, thank you, Rakesh. Customer is the model class. No, not the customer servlet. No, not the customer servlet, Likita. Very good. Please keep on, sharing your opinion and your understanding. Very good, Likita. No, but not the servlet. This is the model class. You remember we talked about the model class. You remember we talked about the business model class. You remember we talked about domain class and business entity and the model class. They are all one and the same thing. You remember I mentioned that the model class is the class that exists in business whether you have a software or you do not have a software. They are real world business entities. That's what a model class is. Alright, and now finally give me the controller class. Come on, give me the controller class. Give me the controller class. Out of all of these classes, actually the controller class is like, request processing class. To be very specific, controlling the request processing. Yes, the servlet. Controlling the request processing. Yes, the servlet. Yes, the servlet. Very correct. Yes, the servlet. Now see what I'm going to do here, my dear friends. Now see, super brilliant. Now see what I'm going to do. So here I say I'm going to get the connection. Okay, and when I get the connection object out here, the prepared statement is just perfect ID, but then I will have a where clause here. I'll say where ID is equal to question mark. This is what I'm going to do. Okay, and then connection dot prepare statement. Yes, why? Because I have not put throws exception here. I will deal with exception handling separately. Okay, I'll show you what is the best way of handling the exceptions, and then the execute query out here. Now instead of saying execute query, now you see it is ID. See, let me put this on the next line here. Okay, ID. So I need to pass the parameter of ID. Now tell me what will be the parameter of ID. st.set int, and I'll say the first parameter and whatever is the ID that is passed as parameter to this function, this ID here. Come on, simple enough, right? And I say execute query result set, but of course I don't need an RLS here. And instead of doing this, you remember we had done this earlier. I say if rs dot next, that means there is the next record. That means the select statement was successful. Then in that case I will take the value as int ID. But what do you think I'm going to do? So I'll say customer ID instead of ID. Why? Because I have already used ID here, and int customer ID. What's the problem with this? Customer ID increase the value that is okay. Declaration not allowed here. If that's because okay, so int customer ID string name is equal to whatever, and then string, and then instead of saying customers dot add, I will say customer is equal to new customer is new customer in brackets. I'll say customer ID comma name comma address. Tell me if you've got any doubts in this. Come on, plain simple Java, and I say return customer. But if suppose it was not found, So if it is not found, I mean, if rs.next is nothing, anyway, because see, try and understand, this is the value of the primary key. So either it will be there or it will not be there. If it is there, it's going to be only one object, only one record. So I get that record, create a customer object, put the values in the customer object and return the customer object back. Or if suppose it's return, customer, and then if it is not found, then in that case, I will say throw. As I said, we will talk about throw new, I'll say runtime exception. Runtime exception. Okay. I'll say not found, record with whatever is passed as parameter, not found. This is the runtime exception that I am throwing out here. Okay, this is the runtime exception, or rather let me keep it an exception. Why runtime exception? And I say exception because I am throwing an exception from here. Actually, this is supposed to be an SQL exception, and let this be the runtime. As I said, I will talk about exceptions, the elegant way of handling exceptions later, the right way of handling exceptions later. But anyways, I'm handling the situation, at least I'm handling the situation. Take a look at this code. Something similar that we have already done. You please recollect last time when we worked on you see this JDBC code, and you see this by where clause and by name and with prepared statement where clause. Remember, if row found rs.next, we put that into a variable and then we check the value of the variable. Here I'm not putting it into a variable and I'm directly checking it. Well, the same thing, I could have created a variable otherwise, right? Very simple stuff, isn't it? Very, very simple stuff. Very simple stuff, friends. Okay, so this is what we have, get customer int id. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a call to this from where? From the customer servlet, and here I will say customer servlet, sorry we already have customer DAO dot get customer, and I pass id as a parameter. You can see this id as a parameter here. I'll say id as a parameter, but there will be an exception here. I'm in a compilation error. Why? What it is expecting, the customer get customer function over there is with integer, whereas what you get in the request is a string. You will have to convert it to a string. And how do I convert it to a string? I'll say int id. Now I'll say int id, something like this, I'll say, or I'll just say customer id is equal to, I'll say integer dot parse int, and then I will pass that as a parameter, that id here, like this, and then I'll say customer id. Take a look. Right, when I say customer id, of course I need to surround this in a try catch block, and when I surround this in a try catch block, I'll just simply say something like this, and here you go. I'll just print the stack trace, I'll just print the stack trace. But when I get the customer DAO object, what is it that I'm going to get here? Come on, what is it that I'm going to get here? Customer is equal to, come on, yes, take a look. Any doubts? It's plain simple Java, again nothing great, and I'm saying time and again I'm saying this, that please focus on what code is written where. Okay, and then I'm going to put this in the request. I'll say request dot set attribute, I'll say customer, and I'll say customer, just one single customer object, the one that I have over here, that is put into the request object, request dot set attribute. All the same, it is just that if no ID is passed, I go to a JSP with all the customers retrieved from the database. But if I have the ID, I go to edit-customer.jsp with that particular customer object, the ID of which is passed as a parameter. Any doubts on this? Simple, plain Java. What is it that we are learning new out here? You must understand, and my focus and my emphasis is on what kind of code is written where. And I'm going to revisit that topic. I'm going to revisit all of that now. So, but for now, let's see this before the customer object. And where am I going here? If there is an ID, and if I retrieve the data from the database and then edit customer.jsp, this is where I'm going. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go to edit-customer.jsp. And here, please do not forget, I can very well write my scriptlet out here, and I can say customer is equal to, I will have to typecast it to customer, and then I'll say request.get attribute, and I'll say customer. Correct? That's what I'm going to get here. So if I want to populate the value, my dear friends, what is it that I'm going to do here? Please see, I'm going to type value is equal to percentage equal to customer dot get ID. Come on friends, make sense? I'll say input, I'll say value is equal to percentage equal to customer dot get name. This is where I'm getting the customer object from the request. How come I'm getting the customer object from the request? Because I'm saying request or set attribute customer. I am putting the customer object in the request and I am forwarding the same request to this GSP, and hence is using request dot get attribute I'm able to get the customer object. Since I have the customer object in the scope, I can very well go ahead and use value out here now is equal to, I will say percentage equal to customer dot get address. I must be able to now get the value, and I'm going to push my code. Once this runs, I'm going to push my code and I will still give you all a chance to go through the code and see once again the new thing that we have done. Okay, I go back here, I say refresh, I don't know, first time that database is not on my own machine, so it gives some issues, it doesn't really connect immediately, but whatever. You see this 104 Verizon on Mumbai. I go back here, I click on edit 101 PwC Hyderabad. I click on edit 102 IBM Pune. I click on edit here JPMC Mumbai. Fantastic stuff. You see Verizon 104 Verizon Mumbai. But if suppose I am one of those hackers who want to check whether your thing really works or not, I say 7, which does not exist, and I hit the enter key, I get an error. You see this runtime exception here. Of course we must present the error elegantly. This is not the way to present the error to the end user. We must give a beautiful message out there with a blank form saying that the ID entered by you or ID selected by you is not available. We will see that later, but for now, see this. Correct. I go back and then again I say refresh. 104 is there. I can always say 101, I can always say 102, I can always say 103, and I can always say 104. Got that, friends? See, now what is the next job? What is the next task? To click on save, and do what? And get, so suppose if I say instead of Mumbai, I'll say Navi Mumbai. Okay, I say Navi Mumbai, or maybe Verizon India, and now when I click on save, exactly this 104 Verizon India Navi Mumbai must be the new values in the database. You got that, friends? Right? Pretty simple stuff. So let me push this code. Okay, I'll write showing, see the commit message is this, showing the data, showing the customer in the form, and when I say commit, when I commit push, see whenever you go to get, I'll say get, you see this here, you will be able to see the latest, see showing the form showing the customer in the form. This is the latest commit message, and I have just committed to master, and the user is Muhammad, and when I committed it. So if you can see the same thing in the log of your Git, it means you have pulled it successfully. Come on, let's get started. I will give you some time to go through this. Okay, friends, come on, let's get started. Let's continue. Okay, right, friends, all set? Yes, come on, let's continue. So you see, this is what we have done, right? This is what we have done, isn't it? This is exactly what we have done. So here with this, now the next thing that we've done is actually, get customers was already there, and then we go to this customer servlet. But what are we doing in this customer servlet now? We are checking in the customer servlet. We are checking, right? If we have ID in the parameter. Okay, parameter, then we forward the request to what? So instead of writing like this, I'll remove this. You see, there is another way of doing it. So you've got the customer DO, and then we go here to customer GSP. So I will just keep this as it is, customer GSP as it is. Okay. And here I will have yet another thing called, instead of customer JSP, I'm going to call it edit hyphen customer. Okay, I won't type JSP. You need to understand that if ID is in parameter. Okay, this is how in parameter. Okay, this is how see, this is what we are doing, right? Customer.jsp, or else this is how. And then once we are there on customer.jsp, but then before going to customer.jsp in the customer servlet itself, we are retrieving the data, one single customer object, and then we go over here and then we use it, and that's how it is. But then now there are two functions. One function was get customers, and then another function that we've got on this is that customer DAO, right? So see, the classes that are getting created is as follows. We have sorry. Okay, so what are the classes that we have created? Tell me. We have created customer servlet as one of the classes, isn't it? This is a servlet class. Servlet class, and I will call this as servlet is what? I mean, I'm going to call it a controller, you know, request processing controller. This is what I'm going to call this as. Okay, we have got request processing controller. Okay, just ignore this property, the other property here, rest is all good. And this is not customer server, it's servlet. Okay, this is what we have. Correct, I will have to increase this so that you can see the whole thing. Okay, so you have yet another class called customer, and what is the stereotype of it? What is the stereotype? Come on, tell me, what is the stereotype of that class? This is a model class. Then we do have something like you know, JSPs. We have got customer, we have got edit hyphen customer.jsp, right? And then we also have customer listing, isn't it, right? Customer listing.jsp is what we have. Okay, and then we also have index.jsp. We say index.jsp. All of this must be stereotyped as what? Come on, tell me. I should have first given the stereotype and then copied. Okay, view, this is also what? A view, and this is also, needless to say, this is also a view. So all of these are views, isn't it? So you've got a model class and so on. And then we also have yet another class, friends, and that class is which class? That is the customer DAO class. And what is the stereotype? The stereotype is data access object class. In other words, it's a DAO class. Correct? This is what we have. You got that? So you see this, what is happening here? My customer servlet, right? My customer servlet uses the DAO class, isn't it? It uses the DAO class. We are moving on to the next topic, so you've got to understand this very, very nicely. And you will soon realize what is it that I'm talking about, okay? So we have a customer servlet talking to the customer DAO, and then that customer servlet also, so let me, you know, color this up and let me arrange all of this properly, right? We have this with us, and I am going to create another stuff here. I'll say to back, and I am I will group this up, and this is supposed to be okay, right? So this is my view, these are my views, you know. So customer servlet then forwards the request to these views, isn't it? It forwards the request to this view, forward request, right, to the appropriate views based on the logic. Of course, based on the logic, it forwards to any one of these views. As we proceed further, this customer servlet does that. And what is it that the customer servlet is doing? It is supposed to manage the request processing logic. Okay, that you know, my stereotype says it all, and I've got customer DAO. Well, the model class is supposed to be used everywhere. I am using the model class here, and I'm using the model class here as well. As we proceed further, perhaps if time permits, we will also talk about value objects. We will talk about value objects later, but then as of now, we've got the model classes. So I am using that model class here, I am using that model class here, I am using that model class here. So model class is created by the customer DAO, retrieve the data from the database, create instances of the model class, returns it back to the customer servlet. Customer servlet will forward the request and put the customer object or the list of customer objects into the request and forwards the request here to my right. So the view, this is how it works. So this is my controller, this is my controller here, this is the data access object class, this is my DAO, and these are my views, my dear friends. These are my views. Okay, these are the views. This is how it is. So simple. Now, as I said, now this is again $1 million point, so don't miss this at all. We cannot afford to miss this. Going back here, let me go to my customer servlet. See what happens now. See, the application is running and I'm saying 103, it works. I say 104, it works. That's okay. If it's 105, it's not there, and hence it gives me this error. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to say A, 105A deliberately. See, you have got to, you're all there with me, guys. You're all there with me. All with me. Understand this. Understand this. Write it down, and I want you to repeat this here. There is a concept of defensive programming. Write it down. Defensive programming. Right? Please write it down. There is a concept of defensive programming. Yes. What is defensive programming? Your code, you write your code in such a way that it is defensive. It is defensive. What do you mean by defensive? Do not put yourself in the shoes of the programmer. You are writing the code. While testing your code and while writing the code, you must keep in mind, and you must keep yourself, you must put yourself in the shoes of a hacker. You must put yourself in the shoes of an end user who does not know the code that you have written, may in fact use your application based on his understanding, based on his or her whims and fancies. Getting the point? So you've got to be defensive. Your code must be defensive. Many a times people write code, the freshers who join my team, when I tell them, okay, you should have actually checked first that the value of this should, must not be null. You say, how can it be null? I'm retrieving it from the database. How can it be null? Oh my God, why not? Why can't someone change the URL? Why can't someone, while sending an AJAX request, change the value of the JSON object? Why not? So do not think that the API or the code that you are writing will be used as per your expectations. No, it may be used in any way, and you must be defensive. You must be ready for all of those different ways. In fact, the wrong ways in which their application will be used. That is called defensive programming. I hope you are getting the point. And if you do that, trust me, you will get accolades from your stakeholders. Right? Accolades of appreciation from your stakeholders. See, your application must be bug free. It doesn't mean that the bugs must be given free of cost. What do you mean by bug free software? Bugs must be given free of cost, no charge for the bugs. Is that what bug free means? Of course not. You understand that. I know you understand that. Bug free means your software must not have bugs. Right, and if at all it is loosely programmed, and if it is not defensive programming, yes, error free, right, Chandana? If it is not, yes, very good, Manisha, it must be error free. If it is not defensive programming, and if you have loosely programmed your application, you will keep on getting the change requests. You will keep on getting tickets. What do you mean by a ticket? A ticket is like, they have raised a ticket saying that so and so is the bug in the software. If I do this, then this happens. But if I do that, that happens. So that's really bad. That's really bad. You will end up making changes 10 times to the same piece of code. So why do you want to do that? Right? So see, our code that we have written over here is assuming that My end users are, saints. My end users are saints. My end users are, my family members. My end users, my own people. Then they will never do any mischief. So if they will always click here and edit. So there is no question of of getting some value over here which is not present. It is impossible. He's going to click on any one of these options. How come there will be some other value over here other than 102? How come? No, don't go by that. I can always change the value if I want to play mischief. And please don't think people are not good. One of my customers, I won't name the customers, it's a large 4,000 crore company, and we have been developing applications for them since last almost 4 years now. Right, we have been doing work for them since almost 4 years. That company, they are into logistics business. It's a 4,000 crore company. Just recently, when I say recently, some 7-8 months back, their Microsoft Exchange was hacked in such a way, that they incurred the loss of 80 lakhs. Someone from Singapore impersonated the chairman of the company, sent an email saying that transfer immediately funds from so and so account to so and so account, and then you can imagine chairman sending an email from a valid email ID from his email, and accounts people questioning him, oh sir, why 80 lakhs to be transferred? For them 80 lakhs is peanuts, no problem at all. It was transfer, daily affair, right? They lost 80 lakhs. So please, out there, people are sitting out there in order to fail your application. So if I say 102A, and what is the code that you have written over here? Integer dot parse int. Will this succeed or fail if I say A over here? Can 102A or any character in that value ID, whatever the value is, if there is a character in it, will do you think this will succeed? Parse int will succeed? It will not succeed. It will fail. And you see this number format exception is what the user is getting. Number format, yes, you're going to get number format exception. So this is not what you want to show to the user, right? You want to tell the user, hey, hello, invalid value. And you would want to take care of it. Yes, not a number. Correct, not a number, Monisha, you're right. So you want to take care of it. How will you take care of it? Now this is where exception handling comes into picture. This is exactly where exception handling comes into the picture. So what am I going to do here? Right, I'm going to again. I'll come to the exception handling in in some time. But then I better surround this in a try-catch block. And what would that try-catch block would be? I'll say number format exception. I'll say catch. I'll write number format exception ex, and you see this here. Okay, and here I'll write for now. I'll say throw new runtime exception. Runtime exception. As I said, I will talk about handling. Okay, let's do that here. I will write request dot set attribute. I'll say error, comma, and I'll say what is the error message? Invalid ID. I will say invalid ID, isn't it? So what am I going to do now? I will copy this here. I will remove that from here. This is my try catch block, and I will write here, customer ID here like this. So customer ID, I will declare it as 0 out here like this, and then I will remove this from here. Yeah, right? Why? Because if I have I've declared it over here, it won't be accessible here. Within the block, if you define a variable, it will become local to that block. I repeat, it will become local to that block. If I define a variable within this block, it will be local to the block, and I will not be able to access it from out of the block. So customer ID is equal to 0. I say parse int. If that parsing of int was successful, then in that case, I proceed further getting the value from the database and putting it into the customer object, and I proceed further. But if at all it was invalid, then I just simply do not put the customer object in the request object. Instead, I put the error message. Right? And what that would be, I'll say plus invalid ID, I'll say ID. This is what is the parameter, isn't it? Whatever is the value of the parameter, whether ABCD 102, 105, 110, whatever, I'm going to print that saying that this is what you had entered, which I could not convert to customer ID, and here you are. So what is the additional thing that I'm going to do over here? What am I going to do here, friends? I'm going to take the value. So if it is equal to null, I'll say if customer is equal to null. Why would this be null? Because it did not reach here at all. It did not reach here at all because there was an exception and it reached here. So then in that case I say, in a string, I say error is equal to, I'll say an empty string. Okay, I'll just simply say an empty string like this, and I'll say otherwise if it is not equal to null, then I know the based on the logic that I have written, I will say request dot get attribute. I'll say error, whatever the error message is, and then I need to convert this to a string. All right, I need to convert this to a string, and there is no question of form at all. There is no question of form at all if there was an error. So I will use, see, div, I'll say div dot alert dot alert hyphen error. Okay, these are the classes that I'm going to use, and I will put there h2 slash h2 slash h2, and I will say whatever the error is. But when am I going to do this error? Okay, error here. And the form, see, because it is anyways a string, so if at all it is not equal to null, customer is not equal to null, only then I get the value, isn't it? And suppose if it is not equal to null, then in that case it doesn't go here at all, which is okay. So it is going to be anyway string. So this is what I'm going to write. Okay, this is what I'm going to write. If customer is equal to null, see the way I'm writing the code, right? In fact, these days are gone that we write this kind of code, as I've been saying. But my objective here is not to teach you servlets so much, but welcome Abhijan, welcome. Walaikum assalam, welcome Abhijan. Okay, I'm busy in my training, I hope that's fine. Okay, all right, so this is what you will be doing. You see this? Okay, there is an error out here, and why that error is because I did not close the bracket out here. This is just perfect. Okay, see this. So if that is the case, you see here, if that is the case, if customer is equal to null, then I print the message, else you see, only else I have a form getting created, and I will close the else bracket here like this. Take a look. Right, pretty simple stuff. Let me restart my application and see the results. Okay, see here. So I go back, and if I refresh, so I'm sorry, things are going wrong. Yeah, okay, 103, I say edit 104, but if I say 104A, I hit the enter key, I'll say invalid 104. Here you go, you can see that invalid ID and no form at all. But if at all I give 104, or right, I say 103 and I hit the enter key, I get the form. See, super brilliant, isn't it? Right, see here, this is how. But my objective was not to show how this works, but my objective is this. Please understand this point. What is my objective? What is the objective here? The objective is this. The objective is int customer ID is equal to 0, and writing this logic and parsing the int is the part of. Okay, still I'll come to this in a moment now. So far so good. Are you good with this? I mean, any doubts, any questions on this? Are you good on this? Do you have any questions on this? What have we only done is that we have just parsed the value of ID that we have received in the parameter. If it is valid, we proceed further. If it is not valid, then in that case we show an error message. Any doubts, any questions here? I hope you are all crystal clear on this. Please confirm. Please confirm, friends. Okay, now the crux of the matter. Why did I take you through all of these things? Why? Okay, the crux of the matter is this. Please see. I have a requirement here. I have a requirement of saving the data to the database. Okay. When the user clicks on save, I am supposed to take this data to the database. I am supposed to update this data to the database. Well, the crux of the matter is still not there. I'll come to it in a moment. Let me first complete the save part of it, the update part of it. So how am I going to do it? When I click on save, I'm going to send this data in the body of the request. So what do you think the form that I have created must send the data to the server in the body of the request or as parameters? Ideally, what is the right way of doing it? Sending the data in the body of the request. Otherwise, if it's a big form, if it's a huge form, you will all get, if it is not, if you don't send it in the body of the request, you will find that the parameters will go here. If I click on save here, you see this 103 names equal to GPMC, address is equal to Mumbai. You can see this here, right? It goes here. I don't want this. Maybe the form is big, and this is not the way to do it. You will usually send the data to the database, and when you want to send the data to the database, and especially forget about the database, even if you've got some form going into some kind of a form data, it is supposed to go in the body of the request. All right, hope you're getting the point. Okay, so it must go in the body of the request. How do you think it's going to go in the body of the request? How? This is how it's going to go into the body of the request. So I go to edit customer, and you see this here, we have the form out here. You can see this form out here. I'll say whatever the action is, I'll come to the action part later. The action here, but then I'll say method is equal to post. Instead of get, the method will be equal to post. This is the difference. And now when I say the method is equal to post, I go to the customer servlet, it will not come here in the do get method, rather it will come here in the do post method. Same stuff, it is just that the method is different. I repeat, it's just that the method is different. Everything is same. Do get, do post, but the method is different. In case of get, the do get gets executed. In case of post, the do post is getting executed. You got that? So I'm going to get the data over here. Now very quickly I'm going to write this code, friends. You see this now. It's very, very simple. I'll say string, I'll say id is equal to, right, id is equal to, I'll say request.get parameter. So if you want to get the data from the body of the request, it's the same concept. You have got to say get parameter. There is no difference whether it's going as a URL, as a query parameter, or in the body of the request, it's the same. So I'll say request.get parameter, I'll say id, right? I'll say, see, copy paste is a bad thing, huh? I'm doing it. Okay, I say address, correct? So you have all the three values here, right? And now I've got to put these values into the object. I need to put these values in the object. So I'll say customer, customer is equal to new customer, right? But I'll pass ID and name and address as the parameter. So I've got the customer object, right? But this is taking an int. So what will I do now? I'll write integer customer ID is equal to, once again, integer dot parse int, and I'll say ID, correct? And what is it that I want to pass here? Customer ID. Here you go. So I have my customer object. Now this is the customer object which I'm going to pass to what? Do you think I must write my database logic here in order to update the customer object to the database? Or should I be writing the code of saving the data to the database in which class? Which class do you think I must be writing my code to save data to the database? Tell me. In which class? Tell me, in which class should I be writing the code? Come on, awaiting your answer. Customer class? That's bad. It is supposed to be the database. Come on, I'm really very unhappy. Those who said the customer, how come customer? Customer is a model class here. Come on, it contains the state of the object. Did I write any other logic over here? Where is the database logic supposed to be? And I'm really getting angry. So it is supposed to be the DAO, right? It's supposed to be the DAO class, the customer DAO class. Correct. See the name of the functions that I have written over here. One is get customer, the other is get customers. Take a look. These are the two functions. Give me the name of the function that I must implement here in order to save the data to the database, in order to save customer. Tell me, ideally, what must be the name of the function here? Manisha, how come? Hey, that's really bad. Get customer. I want to save and you're saying get customer. Where are you guys? I think you'll need a cup of tea. I mean, this is very illogical. Well, set customer is bad though. Save customer problem kya hai? Come on. Hey, come on, yaar. Save customer. Save the customer in the database, right? So save customer. Alright. So the name of the function ideally must be public void. I don't want to return some value back. Come on. I don't want to return some value back. Well, if you wanted to, then it is a different thing, but I don't want to return a value back. I'll say public void, and I'll say, but even if you are returning the value back from here, you wouldn't say get, right? You'll say save customer. The name of the function must always convey the behavior that it is implementing. So customer here like this, right? Customer here like this, isn't it? Save customer. And what do you think will be the logic here? I'll say again connection. I'll say connection con is equal to, I will write a db connection helper dot get connection. That's done. Once I have the connection object, so I'll say throws SQL exception. Correct. So what am I going to do here now? Next is what? Connection con is equal to db connection helper dot get connection. What is the next thing? Come on, what's the next? I am going to now create a prepared statement. I'll say prepared statement stmt is equal to correct. I am going to write my update statement here. Update customer. You remember? Set name is equal to question mark and address is equal to question mark. Come on, see this. Where ID is equal to question mark. Tell me if you have any doubts in this. Oh, I'm so sorry. Con dot prepare. Okay, let me do this. I'm going to put this into a string here. String update SQL is equal to this, and then here I'll write con dot prepare statement, and I'll pass update SQL as a parameter. That water, Abbajan, is not drinkable at all, huh? Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, prepared statement stmt is equal to con dot prepare statement update SQL. Any doubts in this? Simple. Now, how many parameters do I have over here? SQL parameters 1, 2, 3. Come on, how many parameters? 1, 2, and 3, isn't it? So what am I going to do now? I'll say stmt dot set parameter. Oh, sorry, not set parameter. I'll say set string. Right, set string. The first parameter is supposed to be the name. So I'll say customer dot get name. Here you go. Take a look. Right. And here I'll say set string. The second parameter is supposed to be get address. And then the third parameter is supposed to be set int, and that is supposed to be customer dot get ID. Come on. Yes or no? 3 parameters: customer dot get name, customer dot get address, and customer dot get ID. 1, 2, 3. 3 parameters. Take a look. Tell me if you have any doubts. Tell me if you have any doubts. Well done. You just simply now need to say what? You need to say stmt dot execute. I'll say execute. That's it. Execute. What is it that you want to execute? That's it. Just nothing. Just say execute, right? And I say boolean. Well, I don't even need to use that boolean. Just say execute. That's it. It's executed. It will be executed. That update statement will be fired to the database. Done. So this is the save customer. From where do you think I will be calling that save customer? From the do post method, and I'll say customer DAO dot save customer, and I will pass this customer object as a parameter. Can you see this customer object being passed as a parameter? Of course, I need to surround this in a try catch block, and my catch block is supposed to be ex. I'll say ex, okay, and print start page. You got that? Like this. You got it, friends? You got it? Any doubts, any questions on this? I have saved the data to the database. Simple, yeah. Come on, simple, guys. I'm taking the value here. User clicks on save, comes to the do post method. I get the value of the parameters. I pass the int so that I convert it to an integer, create an object of class customer, pass it to save customer, and in the save customer, this is the database logic that is written. Tell me, if there is any doubts, any questions, friends. Crystal clear, my friends. Crystal clear. Come on, please confirm. Super, super, good, very nice. Sabash. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for confirming. And let's see. Whatever we are writing, we must be able to confirm whether this works or not. Okay. Right here you go. Now I go back here. Okay, let me start from the scratch. I say refresh again. Yeah, and you see this, I've got edit. You got this? I've got edit. Now what am I going to do here? I'll click here on Hyderabad, and I'll say PWC. I'll say India, and I'll say Hyderabad, and I'll say in brackets I'll say Telangana. Okay, and I will click on save. Okay, I clicked on save. I just did not forward to anything, so that's really fine. I'm going to come back to that later. But then I go back here and I go to my database. Okay, I have database here in this IDE training, and I double click on customer. Okay, please see this, my dear friends. It did not make a change. It did not change. That's bad. It did not change. So let me go back. There is an exception here. There is an exception. That is the reason it did not work. Customer DAO, here it is. I will click on that and execute. What is the problem? Internal, no suitable driver found. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, I know what that problem is. I know what that problem is. Oh, I'm in an interface. Okay, I cannot change the value. Fine. Okay, now in this case I will have to create this as a class. Okay, so I'll say private static. I'll say connection. I'll say private static connection con is equal to, I will say driver manager. In fact, I will write that. Okay, so connection is equal to null. Okay, private static connection is equal to null, and I'll say con is equal to driver manager, return to connection. Correct, perfect. So the very first time, it tries to get the connection, it is unable to get the connection, and it's on a different machine. That is the reason. So I go back here in Chrome. I go back here, and I say refresh. Method connection must be method refresh constant. DB connection public static connection constant blah 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 is equal to return connection, and then I'll say if con is not equal to null, then return con. Right, so it will make sure that it keeps on returning the same object every now and then. doesn't get customers, customer deal in 20. What's the time? 11:28. We have good time. Okay, so we are here, and then I say edit. Okay, I get the data here, right? ID 102 IBM. Let's see if I make this as IBM India and I click on save. Okay, let me go back. Okay, then again there is an error. Data truncated. Okay, fine. So data truncation is a problem, and that data IBM India. Why double value in ID data is incorrect double value? What? Incorrect, truncated incorrect double value India. How come it's so maybe there's a problem here. I say save customer, set string customer address, set string, update customer, set name is equal to question mark, and address is equal to, it's not address. Okay, not and. Is that update statement correct, friends? Is the update statement correct? Okay, so I say IBM India. Okay. Yeah, it is IBM India. You can see this. This has become IBM India now. And then now I go back. I go back again, and I'll refresh once again, and I go to Verizon. I say Verizon Chennai, and I'll say Verizon Private Limited. Okay. And instead of address is equal to Mumbai, I'll say Chennai. Okay. I'll say save, and then let me go back, and I say refresh. You see this, it's MS Verizon Private Limited, and it is Chennai. Got it, friends? So this works right now. Another interesting point here. Let me close the loop here, and then I will put a point across, and then we proceed further, friends. Just it won't take more than 10 more minutes, friends. Max to max 10 more minutes, and there is a point that I want to make, and hence 10 more minutes. Okay, please see this. So finally, in order to close the loop, what I want to do is that customer servlet, once the data is saved into the database, then I would want to really go back to the listing JSP, the customer hyphen listing JSP. That's where I'm going to go back to. Okay, that's where I'm going to go. So what I'm going to do is I'll say request dispatcher is equal to, I will write request.get request dispatcher, or else what I would like to do a redirect. Let me teach you something new. One is the way to forward the request to something, the other way is to redirect it. So I'll say response.send redirect to customer-servlet, and when I do this, it will automatically go to the get method, and in the get method there is no ID, so it will end up retrieving everything once again, and it will give you the default values. Don't worry about this. It will take some time. I will have to explain this, what is the redirect and what is the request and stuff and all, but that's really important. But we will find time to work on that right later. I'll go back here to see Verizon, and this is Chennai. I again want to make it back, I want to change it back to Mumbai, and I say send, and you see I'm back here and it has become Mumbai. I'm back here as a result of what? As a result of send and redirect. You can see this. as a result of send redirect. I am redirecting back to as if the user has gone to the he is on Chrome, and on the address bar he has typed that slash customer servlet. As good as that. Now see, this closes my, this completes my loop. You see this again, PwC Hyderabad. I'll say PwC private limited, okay, dot, and I say Hyderabad, and then brackets I'll say India, right? And I click on save. It takes me back over here. See, PwC, this is getting the data from the database. Once again it retrieves the data, so everything is working just perfect. Now please confirm to me that you have understood the role of view. Please confirm, yes or no. The role of view. What are views, right? What kind of logic is written over here in views? All the presentation logic, friends, all the presentation logic. Take a look. I'll say presentation logic, and in brackets I'll say HTML, comma, I'll say CSS, comma, I'll write JavaScript. All of this, typically, not necessarily always HTML, CSS and JavaScript. There can be different technologies as well. So presentation logic, here you have presentation logic, right? Abhijan, here pe camera is on. It's okay, sorry. Okay. So you see, so you have got presentation logic here, right? Okay, so that's what the view is. Customer servlet. What is customer servlet? What is this supposed to manage? The request processing logic. Okay, and the customer DAO is supposed to manage the data access logic. I hope you are crystal clear on all of this. And customer class is a model class, and that is used across the entire application. So you've got the view, you've got the model, and you've got the controller there. The customer servlet is acting as a controller. But then there is one thing out here. I have a requirement. The requirement is that at the time of saving the data to the database, it must make sure, I repeat, it must make sure that the value of name cannot be blank. The value of address cannot be blank. And the value of name must be at least 5 characters long. This is the logic of business. The business demands that the name of the customer cannot be less than 5 characters. The logic demands that the address cannot be blank. This is the business demand, not the request processing. Getting the value of ID was the part of my request processing. Please understand this. Getting the value of ID is the part of my request processing. So if suppose the value of ID is incorrect, suppose I go back here to my Chrome, right, and I click on edit out here, and then if I say A here, and if I click on save, should it work or it should not work? What is the kind of exception do you think I'm going to get? I'm going to get an exception here, number format exception, isn't it? So I must put this in the try catch block right here, and I must do the same thing that I had done earlier. Now I'm not writing the entire code. I hope you're understanding what I'm trying to convey to you. I'll say number format exception, okay, E, and then here I'll just simply write handle the exception. Okay, and you're going to put it into the error, you're going to forward it to the same page, and you're going to check the value of the error, and then you're going to show it, and all that stuff will be there. Correct? All that stuff will be there. That's correct. That's okay. But then this is actually because you are validating the parameter here, and this validation is a very basic validation. This validation is needed in order to, okay, let me put this here, is equal to 0 and something here like this. Okay, and this validation here is with respect to the parameter that I have received. And this is the validation which, if fails, my further logic does not really work well. So this is something that I'm going to do here, right here in my request processing logic. But what is it that the business demands? This the business won't even demand. This is something that you as a programmer and I as a programmer will take care of it. Come on, yes or no? Come on. Is this something that the business is going to explain to me? Is this validation is supposed to be explained to me by business? No, it's how my framework works. In my framework, in a web-based environment, request response model, in the request, all that I get is always a string. I must convert it to appropriate data type, and if that conversion fails, then I must handle that failure. This is the request processing logic. Yes or no? Come on. You've got to be. I'm going to give you a break very soon, but please be with me. Answer my questions. Isn't this the part of your request processing logic? So this is going to be where? In the controller class. This is going to be there in the controller class, and the customer servlet acts as a controller. But when the business says, don't you think this is the business logic? This is coming from the business, that you see the name of the customer cannot be less than 5 characters. It cannot be empty, and the address also cannot be empty. It cannot be blank. This is coming from the business. Otherwise, for me as a programmer, what am I going to lose if it goes blank in the database? But no. The business says, no, nothing doing. How come? You cannot give me. My business has a rule that the name of the customer cannot be blank, of course, and it cannot be less than 5 characters. This is the simple business rule that I'm talking about. This is the simple business logic that I'm talking about. It can be anything, million times more complex than this. Well, I'm exaggerating, but it can be very, very complex. All with me, friends? Come on. You're all there with me? Yes or no? Correct? I hope I'm able to convey my point across. एक और पॉइंट है, तो क्या एक पॉइंट मैंने आप लोगों को बताया? What is that one big point that I have conveyed to you? That there is a concept of implementing the business logic, the business rules, the business logic that exists in business. That is something that you're supposed to implement, and you must not be implementing here in the request processing logic. Again, you will end up violating single responsibility principle. So you shouldn't be doing that over here. But the presentation related, if at all you got to get the data from the database, finding something, and then you need to put it into the request, doing a redirect, all of the things that you do with request and response. I repeat, all that you do with request and response. One more time, kaan khol ke suno. All that you do with request and response is supposed to be done right here in this class. And $1 million, likh lo, write it in bold. Never ever think of taking this request and response ahead in any one of these classes. You must never ever pass request and response either to any other class. You may forward the request to a JSP, which is again the part of view. You can forward the request to the JSP, which is again the part of the view. So controller and view, that's fine, but then you cannot, all that you need to do with request and response, you're supposed to do it right here. But if it is supposed to do anything that is supposed to be done with business logic, then it doesn't go here. So far so good. So far so good. You're getting the difference between the two, the business logic. For example, if it is an invoicing system, invoice date cannot be lesser than today's date. How can you create a backdated invoice? Invoice date cannot be less than today's date. What logic is that? Is that request processing logic or the business logic? Come on, answer fast. Is that request processing logic or the business logic? Come on. I'm waiting for an answer fast. Is that request processing logic or business logic? Invoice date cannot be, or at least type not sure if you are not sure of it. Invoice date cannot be less than today's date. Yes, Aniket. Yes, exactly. It's business logic. It's business logic. Whenever an invoice is raised, I am doing this training and I am raising an invoice. I am not from PwC. I am an external consultant. I am doing this training and I am going to raise an invoice. And if suppose there is a business rule in my case, business rule, that the due date of the invoice is 7 days from the date of the training. If this is a rule, where am I supposed to put or punch the value of the due date, calculate the due date as 7 days from the date of invoice? What is this? This is the business rule or the presentation rule or the request processing rule? The due date of an invoice must be 7 days from the date of the invoice. Business rule or what? Come on. Is that a business rule or not? It is a request processing logic or business? Yes, it's a business rule. It's a business logic. I will not be writing that here. Correct. I will not be writing that here. Correct. So for that purpose, what am I going to do? I am going to create yet another package here, my dear friends. I'm going to call it not model, but I'm going to call it services. Or I'll just simply say services or service. It depends, your personal choice. And I'll create a class. I'll say customer service. Hello friends, see yet another class coming into the picture now. See the structure of the project. See the structure of the project. This is brilliant, friends. We have achieved a great deal. If you, at this stage of your career, if you understand the structure of the project here, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And not just simply, because people are doing it and in your project people have done it and your architect or your tech lead has done the structure of the project like this and then you're following it. No, you understand, because after all, he will create at the most classes, blank classes, and give you, in fact, most of the cases you will be creating the classes. And people I have seen, they write code that stinks. I'm sorry for that. People write code that stinks. It sucks. It's pathetic code. They end up writing code that shouldn't have been written over here. They write that business logic here, and then they write some code over here which is specific to the data access object class, which shouldn't be written over here, but they end up writing that class. All a mess, and then maintenance becomes a nightmare. Out of 10 projects that I have reviewed, we do a lot of code reviews, and we do a lot of architecture review and code reviews since many years. I've been doing that. So out of hardly 10, I can say 2 or 3 max projects that I see where I say wow. Otherwise 7 projects, the code stinks. Correct. So you see the customer service here now. What I'm going to do here, I'll say public void and I'll say save customer. Okay, you will be saying, hey Shakir, we already have in our customer DO save customer. That's perfect. But you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to write save customer and I'm going to write customer here. You see this? Very simple stuff. I'm sure, this should be cakewalk for you to understand, right? Say yes. Alright, so I've got save customer here. And what am I going to do? I'm going to check if customer.getName is equal to null. I'm going to do all my defensive programming here. I'll say if customer itself is null, then I'll say throw new runtime exception. Okay, runtime exception. I'll write customer cannot be null. Okay, customer cannot be null. Okay, this is what I'm doing here, and then I write if customer.getName is equal to null, or if customer.getName.empty, I can either check with the length is equal to 0, or else I can say empty. I'll again say throw new runtime exception. I'll say name cannot be blank. Come on, yes or no? Okay, I'll do this. Then I'll say if customer.getName.length is greater than or less than equal to, or else what, I don't need to do this twice. I'll say length is less than equal to 5, or I'll say less than 5. That's the business rule, or whatever, less than equal to 5, whatever the logic is. Then in that case, I'll put this runtime cannot be blank, and it must be greater than what? Greater than what? 5 characters. It must be greater than 5 characters, isn't it? Come on, yes. See the logic here. And then I'll check the same thing for to the same valid. Say all other business specific validations, right? Will go here. Validations, and not only validations. As I had said, another example in case of suppose I have yet another, see what I'm doing. I've got customer, I've got modified table, and I'll add one more field over here, and I'll say creation date on which, or modified date, on which date, and I'll say date, right? On which date was the customer modified? Maybe I want to maintain the log of that. I'll say execute. Now I have, you see this here, I have additional field called modified date. Correct. So now I go back to my code. I go to my customer class. Don't you think I will have to include this? Come on. Private. I'll say local date. You remember we are not going to use java.date, local date, and I'll say modified date. See this, friends? And then here I can just one, and I'll say set a getter methods here like this, and then I can write that. So tell me if this is what I would do. Don't you think what would be the modified date? Come on, tell me. what would be the modified date? This is the part of the business logic, that the modified date must be equal to today's date, the date on which it was modified. So in the business logic class, I'm going to write customer.set modified date to local date dot now. Come on, this will give me today's date. See. I have not included in the update statement. Forget about that. But then otherwise, you see customer.set modified date local date dot now. Correct. So this is the kind of logic that I'm going to write here. Will I be writing this logic in the customer servlet class? No. All with me, friends. I know I have not yet given you all the break till now. Don't worry. I'm going to give you all a break very soon. You got this? You getting the point? Now tell me what. From the customer servlet, should I be calling the DAO class directly? No. I will be calling the DAO class directly? No, not at all. I will be calling customer service class, and here also I'll say customer service class, customer service, and I'll change the name of this to customer service. This must be the name of, right? And then of course I'm going to get exceptions here because this is not implemented. I'll say control 1, I'll say create a method there, so the method gets created here. Okay, and then I go back here. It says again there is a create a method there. Okay, this is the IDE, beautiful thing about the IDE. And what am I going to do here, friends? Finally I'm going to update it. Come on, yes or no? I will have customer DAO created here in the customer service. Don't worry, it's all simple. If you're finding this fast, don't worry, I will repeat it. Customer DAO is going to new customer DAO, and I'm going to put it in the diagram. That will make the things all the more easier. I'll say customer DAO dot, I'll say save customer, and I'm going to pass this customer object because all my validations and everything is all done, and I'm going to throw that exception here. Similarly, I'll say return customer DAO. I don't have any logic here. Actually in real life you will have some logic here, and here, right here you go, correct. And then here also I'll say return customer DAO dot get customer, pass that ID, customer ID as the parameter. Okay, this is what it is. And here also I say SQL exception. Everything compiles successfully and everything works. What have we done? What have we done? See here, very simple stuff. This customer servlet will now not use this customer DAO directly. Customer servlet, my control class. Tell me, what is my customer servlet using now, which in turn uses customer DAO? Jaldi bolo. What is my customer servlet using, which in turn uses customer DAO? Service class, correct. It is service class, right? And then I'll say this is customer service. What must be over here? Come on. What is this supposed to be? It is a service class, right? This is a service class, my dear friends. And how will I draw the arrows, my dear friends? Tell me, how will I draw the arrows? I'll say customer servlet is going to talk to my customer service. Customer service is going to talk to my customer DAO, isn't it? And this customer DAO in turn will talk to the database. Come on, yes, friends. Any doubts, any questions on this? This is super and absolutely simple. Any doubts, any questions here? Come on. Any doubts, any questions? So this is my customer servlet, this is my customer service class, this is my customer DAO class. I better give another, and then this talks to my database. See? Super, isn't it? This is the layered design pattern. This is exactly what model view controller is, and you separate. This is called separation of concern. This is called single responsibility principle. This is called layered pattern. In one layer you've got controllers, in the other layer you've got the service classes, in the other layer you've got the data access classes. Why and what is the beauty of this? One last point and then I give you all a break. Sure, last point. Pakka. And 1000 crore ki baat. How many crores? 1000 crore ka baat. Okay, now see, listen. Tomorrow, if you make changes to your database, if the username and the password changes, or if you make changes to the database, if you move from MySQL suppose to something else which has got perhaps a different syntax. You move from MySQL to some NoSQL database like MongoDB or Cassandra. Where do you think you will be making changes in your entire application? Okay, needless to say, wait, needless to say, you've got customer service, customer servlet, customer service, customer DAO. You will have product service, product servlet, product service, product DAO. You will have invoice servlet, invoice service, invoice DAO. You will have supplier servlet, supplier service, and supplier DAO. Come on, I hope this point is clear. You've got a large application, a trading application in which you will have respective servlets and services and DAO classes. Is this very clear? Is this very clear? All the servlet classes in the controller layer, all the service classes in the service layer, all the customer DAO, customer DAO, I'm saying, sorry, all the data access object classes in the data access layer. Very clear, friends? So tell me tomorrow if I have to make changes to the database. If I move from one database to the other, and as a result of that change, as a result of changing from one database to the other, tell me which classes will change. Will customer servlet and service class will change, or only and only? Tell me which classes will. Yes, exactly. Exactly, my DAO class will change. My customer services least concerned, usko to malum bhi nahi hai that there is a MySQL database. It doesn't even know that there is a MySQL database. It doesn't even know that there is a customer servlet doesn't even know about the existence of MySQL database. It doesn't care. It just says save the customer. It executes the business logic here. So come on, once again now I would like to make this really very prominent. Request processing, okay, control logic is here. Okay, here you are. All your business logic is here. All your business logic is here. I hope now you are clear on why did I spend time on this this application that I explained it to you. I hope you're clear now. And this is the data access logic. It goes here. This was the reason, friends. This was the reason. And if I had just explained to you theoretically and with the help of some diagrams and not showing you things in action, perhaps it wouldn't have really made such an impact. But now I believe and I'm confident that you are crystal clear on the concept of the view, the request processing logic, that is the controller class, the business logic, and the data access object logic. Clear, friends? Yes. I'm going to go back. I will go to my commit. I will go here and I will say, I'll say layered pattern explained. Okay, that's nice. You can take the pull, take a look at the code, and what's the time now? The time is 11:55. No worries. I will give you all 10 minutes to go through this, 15 minutes for the tea break. All in all, you have you have 25 minutes. Okay, you have 20 minutes. 20 minutes should be sufficient. I have explained this in detail. So 20 minutes should be sufficient, friends. 20 minutes tea break plus go through the code. Get started now. And be ready with the questions. When we come back, I will take your questions. If you have any, please feel free to shoot questions, because this is the most critical thing that we have discussed in the last few days. So you see, your fundamentals of Java is crystal clear, your web-based application, your layered architecture and stuff. Okay, you are cool, and now you are great to get started with your projects that we are using. We will learn other things also, don't worry. Thank you. We are on a break now, 20 minutes.